The 10 strongest aircraft carriers in the world. Russia is only 5th. The first place can be regarded as the most powerful hegemon on the sea. The cost exceeds $200 billion. Aircraft carriers are an important core of contemporary naval warfare. It is also the facade of the naval power. Some aircraft carriers carry dozens of fighter jets. The attack is so powerful that it can destroy a small country. Some aircraft carriers are more than 1,000 feet long. It can be called a sea beast. The world is so big. There are no wonders. Today, the World Army takes you all to take a look at the 10 strongest aircraft carriers in the world. In addition, friends who haven't subscribed, click on a subscription. You can see the past content. I won't miss the good after that either. 10th place. The Vikrant, India. Although the largest aircraft carrier in Asia is now in China, but in reality, both India and Japan have to acquire aircraft carriers before China. Japanese characters need not be said more. India had already purchased second-hand aircraft carriers from the UK in 1960, and he had actual combat experience in aircraft carriers in the 1971 India-Pakistan War. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, China and India respectively purchased 2 ships from Russia and Ukraine, namely Varyagaku and Admiral 20 Kov. India has transformed the Admiral 20 Kov into an aircraft carrier, 0.4S, and Vikramasya. At the same time as the introduction, India has not given up building its own aircraft carrier either. As early as 1999, India's domestic aircraft carrier, the Vikr, has already been put on the agenda. And in 2005, construction began at Nemesis Shipyard. In August 2013, the Wickland is officially launched. However, the subsequent construction and maritime processes have been postponed many times for various reasons. February 28, 2002. The Indian Ministry of Defense announced that the aircraft carrier USS Vikrant was delivered to the Navy, September 2, 2022. The Wickland is officially in service in the waters of Kerala in southern India and start a new round of maritime operations. The Vikrant is 262 meters long, is 2 meters wide. The fully loaded displacement reaches 43,000 tons. The standard displacement is 37,500 tons. This Indian self-produced gas turbine is equipped with 4 outsourced gas turbines. The total axle horsepower is 160,000 horsepower. The maximum speed can reach 28 knots. Range, 7,500 Haley. On paper, this aircraft carrier is indeed a fairly normal military inspection, but the process of its construction and the final product can be described as much loss. First of all, although the Vikrant originally planned to use 4 gas turbines as power, but it is reported that 2 of them have been unable to operate normally for a long time due to technical reasons. But anyway, this aircraft carrier doesn't use catapults either. It is also enough to slow down against Pakistan. The demand for power is not so great either. If the gas turbine is still a technical problem, then Vikrant's problems with deck and archer and center design were serious design failures. The decks of normal aircraft carriers are often very rough. It is so rough that ordinary people will not adapt to walking after climbing the deck. This is mainly to increase the frictional force. Ensure the safety of shipborne aircraft takeoff and landing. However, Vikrant's deck is smooth enough to reflect light. After doing this directly, I am the shipborne aircraft and may skid at any time after getting on the ship. It is not even possible to complete a normal takeoff, except for the smooth deck. Vikrant's center of gravity problem is equally serious, due to design defects. This aircraft carrier has the phenomenon of jolting down the arrow's hand while sailing at high speed. It looks like a kowtow from a distance. You should know that aircraft carriers often need to drive to a certain speed before carrying out the shipborne aircraft release operation, and Vikrant kowtows as long as it is at high speed. It will inevitably be the work of the image builder. In comparison, no ball matcher and the blue group are already trifles among the many problems of this aircraft carrier, apart from these relatively large problems. There are even more numerous other minor mistakes on this aircraft carrier. Cut corners by civilian refractory bricks from China, causing the aircraft carrier to catch fire. Construction mistakes lead to insufficient cement tanks. There are countless small problems such as toilet explosions. However, considering that the Indian Navy is a wonderful army that can make submarines self-explode in shipping affairs, it is not surprising that their aircraft carriers have done so. 9th place. It's cloudy. Good in all aircraft carriers. Izumo is the most special one, because at the very beginning of the construction, he was built in the name of a helicopter carrier, and it is often regarded as an amphibious assault ship like the American and Northwest Wind. However, in fact, Izumo has no misheld position of an amphibious assault ship, nor do they perform amphibious missions. It is used as a platform for the HMS helicopter. Since 2016, the world situation has gradually become tense. Japan has also begun to upgrade Izumo. Starting in 2021, the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force has decided to carry out the in-flight modification of the Izumo-class helicopter destroyer. The modification work is divided into 2 parts. The first stage is to first enable Izumo to carry the L-35, have basic takeoff and landing capabilities. Let Izumo be equipped with L-35B. First of all, we need to expand the deck and replace the heat-resistant materials. Change the deck mark. Only in this way can the F-35B fighter perform short-distance takeoff and landing. Now, Izumo-ga has basically completed the first phase of the modification, successfully entered the F-35B, the currently modified Izumo-gahe. The total length is 248 meters, 8 meters wide. The standard displacement is 19,500 tons. The full displacement can reach 27,000 tons. Adopt a fully passed flight deck. It has an independent large hangar, the central carrier-mounted lifting platform. The guide is on the right line. The characteristics that these normal aircraft carriers should have. Izumo Kaga is fully available. However, at present, the road of the aircraft carrier in Izumo Kaga has not been completed yet. It can only be considered to be able to carry the L-35 without functioning properly only after the L-35 has completed the second stage modification. It has the function of an aircraft carrier, in the true sense. The second stage modification of Izumo-ga is expected to be launched in 2025, including the refitted flight deck to install the combined precise approach and landing system, and carry out the reinforcement and rebalancing work of the hull structure. But even after these modifications are completed, it is also very difficult for Izumo to become a real aircraft carrier, because modern aircraft carriers are not just as simple as making airplanes take off from the sea. Also take into account the efficiency of takeoff and landing, ensure that the shipborne aircraft has a qualified combat radius, and also have the ability to operate early warning aircraft and electric fighter jets, and Izumo-ga could not have these capabilities no matter how it was modified, because their deck size is not large enough to make the L-35 take off with a full load of oil. The modified Izumo combat radius is probably not very optimistic, coupled with the fact that this small aircraft carrier cannot take off early warning aircraft and electric fighter jets. It is probably still too difficult to fight against the imaginary enemy with a complete electronic fighter fleet just by relying on the F-35. Even if we don't consider early warning aircraft and electric fighter jets, nor does it take into account the inefficiency brought by the small deck. Only consider the total number of ammunition that the 12 F-35s that are able to carry in total are not much even when the shipborne aircraft countermeasures, 0.3s, are out of the clouds. Whether a salvo can break through the air defense network is unknown. So, overall, Izumo is just the threshold of a small aircraft carrier that must be touched by the F-35. As for becoming a real aircraft carrier, it is probably never possible. 8th place. The Gadpole. The Gavro aircraft carrier is the first new aircraft carrier built by the Italian Navy in the 21st century. It is also the most combative ship in the Italian Navy at present. It is also one of the models in small deck aircraft carriers. It was built by the Fincantieri Shipbuilding Company. It began in 1998. Finally, it involves demonstrating that the construction of the 2,000-year-long project will start. It was launched in July 2004. On March 27, 2008, he completed the service of the test soldier. It can be described as very fast. The captain of the Gavor is 235.6 meters. The waterline is 215.6 meters long. The width is 39 meters. The pool water is 5 meters. The standard displacement is 22,000 tons. The fully loaded displacement is 30,000 tons. The maximum speed is 29 knots. Adopt a rectangular all-pass flight deck. Jiandao is located on the right-left string archer position, equipped with a 12-degree ski takeoff deck. In the early stages of the design, Gavor once planned to carry each L-35B vertical takeoff and landing fighter. But due to the appearance, progress delays of the L-35B fighter, and the limited flight of the Italian Army. Long after its service, the Gavor carried an old-fashioned AV-8B fighter jet. Until the last few years, the Italian Navy only plans to switch to the F-35C fighter, and the corresponding modification work was carried out. Compared with the modified Gafur Izumo, which is of the same tonnage as oneself, has more advantages. After all, Gafur was designed to operate the F-35 from the very beginning. The original building is more excellent. There are also more L-35s that can operate. Besides, the Gavra has a ski jump deck. In the case of Cole design, the improvement of the combat effectiveness of the ski jump deck on the shipborne aircraft is quite considerable, since the Mediterranean Sea is not large in the first place, coupled with the limited size of the Italian Navy. So the Gavor has not always been used as an aircraft carrier. At the beginning of the design, he has a certain amphibious assault combat ability. It can carry 24 main battle tanks or 60 armored personnel carriers, and there are mispositions. It can carry 3 LCVP personnel landing craft. It is also because of its versatility. After serving, the Gavor participated in a number of peacekeeping missions with little military relationship, including the International Peacekeeping and Disaster Relief Action Party. For example, during the 2010 Haiti earthquake rescue operation, the Gavor was sent to Haiti to provide relief for earthquake victims. 7th place. Wait for the Gaulle. Charles de Gaulle was the ship named after the legendary leader of France. Naturally, it is also the absolute main force of the French Navy. The USS de Gaulle is the only aircraft carrier in France at present. It is also the only nuclear-powered aircraft carrier other than the United States. It is also a benchmark in small-deck aircraft carriers. The development of the Gaulle aircraft carrier began in the late 1970s. At that time, in order to connect the two Clemenceau and aircraft carriers from 1963 to 1, the French Navy began to plan new nuclear-powered aircraft carriers. This plan is called PIN, and the Gaulle is its final product. The design work of the Gaulle aircraft carrier is in the charge of the French Shipbuilding Agency, completed with the assistance of the French Arms and Equipment Technical Department and the French Atomic Energy Commission. It was built in February 1986. Obtained the construction order signed by the French Minister of Defense. The first steel plate was then cut on November 24, 1987. In April 1989, the security keel was protected. It was launched in May 1994 and officially entered service on May 18, 2001. Become the flagship of the French Navy. The standard displacement of Gaulle is approximately 37,085 tons. The fully loaded displacement reaches 42,500 tons. The construction length is 262 meters. It's meters wide. The depth of the red water is 43 meters. The maximum speed can reach 27 knots. However, because of the nuclear-powered submarine reactors used by de Gaulle, it often leads to a lack of motivation. Generally speaking, the maximum speed is only 25 knots. Under normal conditions, it can even fall below 20 knots. As an aircraft carrier, weight for Gaulle can be said to be a sparrow, although the small 5 viscera are all available, although it is only 40,000 tons. But it has catapults and a diagonal deck for reflying. It is also equipped with a police aircraft. It was the first to carry the super military flag attack aircraft. Subsequently, Air France's signature product Rafale .0.3's multi-function shipborne aircraft was adopted, and there are also 1 or 2 early warning aircraft purchased from the United States. Future plans will also be equipped with power station gusts and neuronal drones. It can be said that, although the fleet size is not large, but there should be everything. This doomed him to be much stronger than small aircraft carriers such as Tuyun, Gagafur, and Canberra. 6th place, Queen Elizabeth. The development of Queen Elizabeth and the aircraft carrier began in the late 1990s. At that time, the Royal Navy was facing the problem of the gradual aging of the Invincible-class aircraft carriers. In order to maintain the ocean-going combat capabilities of the British Navy, the British government has decided to build a new generation of large aircraft carriers. It has replaced the Invincible class. After years of planning and design, Queen Elizabeth and the aircraft carrier finally began construction in the early 21st century. The design of the Queen Elizabeth Howe aircraft carrier is fully close to the usage experience of the Invincible-class aircraft carrier. A number of innovative technologies have also been adopted. The twin ship island design adopted by this ship. This is the first time in the world that this design has been adopted on an aircraft carrier. The construction work of the Queen Elizabeth was jointly completed by many well-known shipyards in the UK. Among them, the Ross's shipyard undertakes the main construction tasks. The construction was officially started on July 7, 2009, after years of hard work. On July 4, 2014, the suit was launched for the operation. On December 7, 2017, Queen Elizabeth Howe is officially in service. Become the new flagship of the Royal Navy. The standard displacement of this ship is approximately 65,000 tons. The full displacement can reach 70,600 tons. The captain is 280 meters. The ship is 73 meters wide. The flight deck is 280 meters long, meters wide. The area is approximately 16,000 square meters. The maximum speed can reach 27 knots. The cruising speed is usually 20 to 25 knots. In the early stages of the design, there have been 4 programs with Huangji. The above-mentioned plan is one of the 4 relatively backward plans. It can only carry F-35 without operating a fixed variant early warning aircraft. Only early warning helicopters can be used to undertake early warning tasks. However, due to the ski jump deck, coupled with the deck area and the mechanism area, it is also large enough. So the number of L-35s that Queen Elizabeth can operate far exceeds that of a large number of L-35s in other small countries. Use advanced electronic equipment to network. It can also make up for the embarrassment of not having an early warning machine and a power station machine to a certain extent. However, although the Queen level on paper is very tough, but because it has adopted too many unstable new technologies. Plus the late arrival of F-35. At present, this ship has never seen the police in Kino knock me off. When combat effectiveness will be formed is still unknown. 5th place, Kuznetsov. Both Kuznetsov and China's Liaoning ships were born out of the 1,143.5 aircraft carriers built by the former Soviet Union, although the two are burning together at the same route. But the fate is very different. The Kuznetsov entered service on January 21, 1991. The maximum displacement is approximately 67,500 tons. The designed speed exceeds 30 knots. The total area of Kuznetsov's flight deck is approximately 14,800 square meters. It is divided into takeoff area, landing area, and parking area. Its features lie in having a 2-stage flight deck with a cock and a Huayue takeoff deck with a 12-degree upturn angle. There is no catapult equipped, but it can take off and land heavy fixed-wing fighters. The main ship of this ship has a 7-story deck down from the flight deck, 2-layer platform and double-layer bottom, a total of 10 floors of deck, cause the superstructure to be located on the right side of the flight deck. Arranged command parts, advanced column cabins, electronic equipment and working cabins, etc. Since the collapse of the Soviet Union, Kuznetsov has always been the only seedling of the Russian Navy, named after the legendary Soviet naval marshal Kuznetsov. It also formed the importance of the Russians to it. However, even the attention cannot change the current situation of maintaining the fragmentary state under Kuznetsov's combat effectiveness, due to the poor efficiency of the shipborne aircraft. So Kuznetsov also needs to rely on the P-800 missiles in the building to carry out the Cedar Road strike mission. The MiG-29K and 43 Army equipped with it are extremely useless. Not even the basic modernization has been done. Such a backward aircraft carrier. Nature exposes a lot of problems in use. In 2005, the Igasu-33 fighter jet crashed into the seabed after taking off on the Kuznetsov symbol. The Russian military used depth charges to blow it up to protect secrets. In 2016, when the Kuznetsov was involved in the strike against the Syrian anti-government armed forces, due to system failures such as blocking stations, caused 2 shipborne fighter jets to fall. In 2018, during the maintenance process, the Kuznetsov encountered ship objects encroaching on her bones, caused multiple damage to the hull after death. The Kushu has been lying in the shipping service for maintenance all along. So far, it has not been successfully repaired. Unlike Kuznetsov, after the Varyang Pavilion, which went far to China, was transformed into a Liaoning ship. It can be said that it has always been very beautiful. Not only is it maintained like a heart, it has also been successfully equipped with heavy-duty fighter jets and margin-phased array radars. The success exceeded the expected level of Soviet shooting, and the Liaoning is also the only aircraft carrier that condenses the forces of each of the 3 Soviet unions. This ship was built by the Soviet Union. China is completed. In the early days of operation, there were also retired U.S. military pilots coming to give guidance. It can be for Hongfuki, 4th place. Shandong ship. The Shandong ship is the first aircraft carrier independently built by the Chinese Navy. It is also one of the milestones in the history of the Chinese Navy. The construction of the Shandong ship began on November 19, 2013. Cut the fast steel plate of the Hand and Dalian shipyard of China Shipbuilding Heavy Industry Group Company. Construction has officially begun on April 26, 2017. The Shandong ship was launched in Dalian shipyard. It marks the birth of China's first domestic aircraft carrier built completely independently. It also refreshes the mechanism of the construction speed of contemporary aircraft carriers. December 17, 2019. The entry ceremony held in Sanya, Hainan in Shandong County was officially delivered to the Navy for use, although Shandong County is the first domestic aircraft carrier. But there is still the shadow of the Soviet Union in its design. It can be regarded as an experimental ship built by the Chinese Navy after absorbing the knowledge of Soviet aircraft carriers. This aircraft carrier is about 315 meters long. The width is about 75 meters. The displacement reaches the level of 65,000 tons. The maximum speed can reach 28 knots. Compare the supercarriers like Nimitz, the all-round circle of differences. But compared with second-tier products like de Gaulle, but it is far ahead. As an advanced aircraft carrier with an insensitive nature, the Shandong ship is an advanced aircraft carrier. There are many shortcomings. For example, there are no catapults at all. Only Kohuayue can take off. The shipborne aircraft is too large and the cabin is not large enough. The number of shipborne aircraft is not large enough. Excessive ship guide size affects deck dispatch, etc. However, after all, this is the first time that the Chinese Navy has built an aircraft carrier independently. It is normal to design conservatively. In fact, the Chinese Navy has tried its best to close the technological gap between the Shandong ship and other aircraft carriers through its own technological advantages. First of all, at the waypoint. The Shandong ship was equipped with 4 huge 346 Xingyu to air array radars. Although this kind of radar is not as good as 0.55's 346A, but it is also one of the leading equipment in the naval community. In foreign navies, only the U.S. Navy has similar equipment to make up for the embarrassment of not having an electromagnetic catapult. The shipborne aircraft of the Shandong ship adopts the giant Food, this super heavy fighter. Its weight and mobility are far beyond the OFF-18 series, among the improved models exposed after 2022. It is also equipped with the original phased seismic radar and developed the derived electron-sticky aircraft. Only on these 2 points. The later model Jazz Dances pointed out the superiority of the F-35C in the carrier-based aircraft confrontation. After all, in the case of the same generation machine, the radar size and power of Jazz Dance are much higher than 18 and Gust's. This is the advantage of the big platform. Besides, the Shandong ship can also take off the KG-600 shipborne early warning aircraft at the same level as the United States, one or two places. It can be said that the Shandong ship relies on the advantages of electronic equipment and shipborne aircraft. Steadily sit in the first position of the medium-sized aircraft carrier. The Fujian ship was the third in the imperial title, as the largest incrementing navy, China. Naturally, on the aircraft carrier, one is not willing to fall behind either. Although the United States has only built 3 aircraft carriers, but China has completed a fairly complete aircraft carrier technology through the strategy of small-step brisk running. And the Fujian ship is the master of these technologies, unlike the Liaoning and Shandong. The hull of the Fujian ship completely got rid of the design of the Sushi aircraft carrier and absorbed the usage experience of Liaoning and Shandong to optimize the layout. Fujian construction began in 2016 at the Jiangnan shipyard, the largest wild city in China and the most historic one. China's first ironclad ship and the first steamship were once built here. It is the cradle of the modern Chinese shipbuilding industry. It will not be launched until 2022. The construction cycle of the Fujian ship is only 6 years. It is half of Ford's today. The Fujian ship is still conducting the 4th maritime voyage, if there are no accidents, possibly in service around 2025, 2026. It took a total of 9 to 10 years, compared to his brother Ford on the other side of the Pacific Ocean. This speed is already very fast. Fujian construction, except for the U.S. Navy, the first aircraft carrier on the Earth to adopt a large direct-to-large deck and be equipped with electromagnetic catapults. It is also the only one that does not use any Western-supplied products. However, in terms of technical indicators, it has a short and long aviation object with the special level protection of the U.S. military's decisive weapons suits. According to the release of Chinese media, the captain of Fujian is 320 meters wide. The displacement is more than 80,000 tons, although the Fujian ship is still in a highly confidential state at present. But according to the official reports, the most powerful and careful Fujian ship has 2. One is a 32-plane phased array radar. The second is electromagnetic ejection. The island of the Fujian ship is equipped with a 32-plane phased array radar. The largest of them is the 4-sided 346-dimensional Starfish S-band radar. This radar adopts the active blank array technology. Not only is it the strongest S-band radar in the world, it is also a mature product that has long been applied to the 0.5 series destroyers. This 32-plane radar is integrated together through the most cutting-edge integrated radio frequency technology. This also makes Fujian. The built island is in the case of accommodating an oversized, smoky onion. It is still about the same size as Nimitz's island. If the scallions are removed, it is as big as the Ford class. If it is about the level of electronic technology and integration, the Fujian ship is only slightly ahead of Ford. Then what really makes Fujian still have the same wrist as Ford under the disadvantage of power and tonnage is the DC electromagnetic ejection technology in it, compared with Ford's medium voltage AC technology. The electromagnetic catapults in Fujian are more stable, higher efficiency. The operation time is also much longer than that of medium voltage AC electromagnetic ejection. At present, there are not many electromagnetic ejection pictures that the Fujian ship can publish yet. There are only pictures of counterweight ejections. However, according to the CCTV documentary Qihuo, the Fujian ship is not far from the day when the real electromagnetic ejection of the shipborne aircraft is already far away. By then, the Fujian ship will become the second aircraft carrier on the Earth to successfully operate electromagnetic ejections. It will also become the second-place Ford in the new era aircraft carrier duo, which is on a par with Ford. Ford and Fujian are the 2 newest aircraft carriers in the Pacific Ocean. It is often used as a comparison. The technical indicators of both sides are short and long, considering their respective positioning in their respective fleets. Double happiness can be said to be no different. However, given that Ford launched the water earlier, also in service, so I still put Ford on top of Fujian. The origin of Ford-class aircraft carriers can be traced back to the 1990s, as the successor to the Nimitz-class aircraft carrier. The research and development of Ford-class aircraft carriers is aimed at meeting the combat needs of the U.S. Navy in the 21st century. This project originated from the CVIF plan in the United States in the last century. It was later changed to the CVI-21 Future Carrier Program. In this project and subsequent projects, the U.S. Navy has demonstrated 39 different aircraft carrier designs. It even includes a supercarrier program known as the ECBL. However, finally, due to the problems of funds and shipyard shipping dimensions, the U.S. Navy still chose a more conservative Ford-class design plan, August 11, 2005. The first Ford-class ship began construction. After years of construction and commissioning, it was officially commissioned on July 22, 2017. The time span has come to an exaggerated 12 years. After serving, Ford's technical indicators are not astonishing, although it generally follows the design ideas of the later-stage Nimitz models used. But the interior has changed. The Ford-class aircraft carrier is 337 meters long. The flight deck is 77 meters wide. The waterline is 40.84 meters wide. The pool water is 12 meters. The standard displacement is about 1,600 tons. The fully loaded displacement is approximately 112,000 tons. It weighs 10,000 tons more than the later model of the Nimitz class. The power pack of this sea behemoth uses a 1B pressurized water reactor. This kind of reactor can supply Ford and more than 280,000 horsepower, and it also goes to a higher level in terms of maintenance and security. There are more advanced fuels. Nature also supports more advanced equipment. The most groundbreaking device on Ford is its electromagnetic catapult. Ford's electromagnetic catapult is different from Nimitz's steam catapult. Not only is it more powerful, and there is almost no limit on the weight of the ejected aircraft. Aircraft ranging from 2 to 70 tons can operate successfully in the battle. The steam catapult needs to heat the boiler for 24 hours, and after multiple ejections, the efficiency will be reduced due to steam loss. But there is no need to worry about electromagnetic ejection. It only takes him 15 minutes to start, and it can work without damage. It's just 2 points. It makes Ford's paper efficiency 20% higher than Nimitz's. Just look at the power in the catapult. Ford has already finished St. Nimitz in terms of technical indicators, not to mention that it is also equipped with the most advanced quasi-phase-controlled town radar and electronic countermeasure systems in the U.S. military. Electromagnetic compatibility optimization. Shaft's construction of the island is twice as narrow as Nimitz and is fully reduced. The overall level of automation is also far better than Nimitz. In the extreme situation, Gaten 600 people can start this ship. However, Rao is such a powerful Ford. It is still not as good as Nimitz in combat effectiveness. This is not that its technology is not advanced enough, and precisely because it is too advanced. Since all of Ford's reactor catapults meet the requirements of the elevators adopt new technologies, and none of these technologies have been tested by the upkey, so it is still in the immature stage. A large number of immature technologies have made Ford advanced. It also held him back. By 2022, Ford's catapult was ejected in 10,000 ejections. On average, it will fail once 400 times. Far below the design target of 4,166 times, its electromagnetic blocking system will fail once every 47 blockings. Far below the design requirements of 16,500 times. In this case, the U.S. Navy also dares not rashly let L-35 Schwiford. First, match with the more mature and stable L-18 with Ford. This also greatly reduces Ford G's combat effectiveness, far inferior to a ship of Nimitz, L-35. First place Nimitz, when it comes to the most powerful aircraft carriers. The vast majority of people will choose one from Ford and Fujian. But in fact, if there really is a war today, the world's strongest aircraft carrier is still the old ship Nimitz, which is well known to the public, although Nimitz's technical indicators are not as good as Fujian Ford's, But now both Shuangfu have a great many problems that need to be solved urgently. For example, Fujian has just been launched into the water for less than a year. The sea market has not been completed yet. Ford's own advanced system has not fully penetrated the F-35C yet. Neither did Spee. And Nimitz has already built 10 ships. And deeply adapt to the mature platforms of almost all equipment of the U.S. Navy. In 2024, there are double format control of technical indicators. In any case, it is impossible to compete with the current Nimitz in combat effectiveness. The birth of Nimitz began with the Cold War. Since the launch of the legendary aircraft carrier Enterprise in 1960, the U.S. Navy has taken a fancy to a series of conveniences brought by nuclear power. Finally, the new generation aircraft carriers adopt the design of the large deck plus nuclear power, typical of the Enterprise. In 1966, the U.S. Congress approved the construction of the CVN-68 Nimitz in the 1967 fiscal year. The following year, May 31st, the U.S. Navy signed a contract with the USS Nimitz shipyard in Newport News, Virginia, for the construction of the USS Nimitz. In 1972, under the USS Nimitz water suit, in 1975, the Nimitz was officially commissioned into the United States Navy. Since then, the Nimitz began her career ruling the sea. The full length of the Nimitz is 317 meters, width 40.8 meters. The depth of the red water is 11.9 meters. The flight deck is 332.9 meters long. The maximum width is 77.8 meters. The displacement of the early Nimitz was about 90,000 tons. Later, it increased to more than 100,000 tons. The core of the Nimitz aircraft carrier is 2 General Electric's A4WB class pressurized water reactors and 4 steam turbines. Its total power is as high as 260,000 horsepower. It can make this behemoth run to the highway of level 30. In terms of aviation operations, Nimitz used the most advanced steam catapult at that time. Thanks to these 4 powerful steam catapults, early Nimitz could have allowed the AF-14, a 30-ton aircraft, to take off with a full hang. This record is still waiting for the double to break. With the end of the Cold War, Nimitz's carrier aircraft were also replaced with AF-18 and tested the AA-18 class, the most powerful tactical electronic warfare aircraft in the United States. After entering the age of invisibility, the L-35, the first stealth shipborne aircraft on the Earth, was also successfully experimented on the Nimitz in 2014. It was first deployed on the Nimitz flag. So far, Nimitz is still the only aircraft carrier capable of deploying and operating stealth carrier-based aircraft. This is also the reason why it can surpass the more advanced double width of technical indicators in combat effectiveness. During Nimitz's 40-year-long military service career, it can be described as a military achievement in their participation not only as the absolute core at sea in the Cold War, preparation for war with the Soviet Union. It is still being deployed in almost all parts of the world. Defend the national interests of the United States. The Nimitz-class aircraft carrier participated in many operations such as the Iranian value crisis in 1980, the Libyan airstrike in 1981, the Lilia bombing in 1986, the Gulf War in 1991, Somali to ISIM assistance in 1993, the Bosnian War in 1995, and the Iraq War in 2003. In these conflicts, the U.S. Air Force was captured and killed by the MiG-25 and SAM missiles. The U.S. Army was brutally flogged to death by Uncle Black in Somalia. Even the Navy's blog almost collapsed, but only Nimitz still stands on the ocean, not a single defeat. In the peaceful years. This type of legendary warship has also received senior naval officials from various countries, including the head of the Chinese Navy, many times. It is also open to the public many times. It can be said that, whether in terms of combat effectiveness, symbolism, or historical significance, Nimitz is an unquestionable high in contemporary naval history. Many of the legends Nimitz set are still waiting for the latecomers to break. All right, these are the 10 strongest aircraft carriers in the world. What do you think about this? Welcome to leave a message below to share your views. Finally, please click like and subscribe. See you next time.